Okay, so in the previous video, when we were talking about AI and developing for beginners, we set up our environment. So in this video, we are going to set up our MyListing environment specifically, and then we will look at some potential code that we can put in. So let's go ahead and go start from Blueprint. We're going to choose Development. I'm going to go ahead and put in MyListing. Basically, for whatever it is that you're working on. You can have multiple projects, so maybe you're building a plugin, you could give it the name of your plugin. If you're building a specific feature that maybe you want to have for MyListing or WooCommerce or whatever, just give a separate site for each of those. Is how I would do it personally. You can expand advanced settings and you can adjust this stuff down here as you would like. I'm going to go ahead and put a password in for myself, and then I'm going to use a custom domain. And we can go ahead and skip the rest for now. Add site. So go back and watch that previous video if you need to, but this is WordPress Studio. It is completely free to use. This is our local hosting environment. So it's going to host all of our test websites for free. And also in that video, that previous video, you'll understand why I chose Blueprint there as the option. So go check that video out if you haven't yet. It's the most recent video from me on the MyListing Club channel, other than this one. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this video and let this finish spinning up. There's no need for you to watch paint dry, right? All right, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we have the WordPress site spun up. Now we need to do a couple of things. We need to get it loaded with MyListing, right? Get that ready to go. As I mentioned in the previous video, we want to do all of our AI browsing on a browser that's separate from our daily activities. So I've got the Canary build up for Edge, which is a Chromium browser, and I am not logged in. So that is one of the keys. You're not logged in. You'll see in the top right, guests. So I'm keeping all of my AI development activities, all of my AI activities completely separate for development. Okay. So as part of that, one of the things we want to do is jump over to settings. Remember, during setting up this site, I chose a local domain. There's a reason for that. So you're going to get this admin URL. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard, and we're going to drop that in the browser where we are not logged in. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and just as we would any other time, we're going to go to set up MyListing. We're going to go and add a theme. And for some reason we have an error. Let's try going back again. There we go. Sometimes with WordPress Studio, you need to load it a couple times. All right, we're going to go add themes. We are going to pull in the latest version of MyListing. Now, in this particular case, I'm not worried about losing customizations for the theme because this is just a dev environment. If this is a real world environment, I would go ahead and install the child theme for MyListing. So I also like to, because we're working specifically with MyListing, we don't need these other themes. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean house a bit. Okay, so we just have MyListing going. We're going to go ahead and click on this link, begin installing plugins. Just your typical MyListing setup. We can go ahead and install all three of these. Typically, if I'm building a real world MyListing website, I don't use Contact Form 7. I use Elementor Pro forms for that, but that's just a little pro tip. The club actually has a guide for replacing Contact Form 7 with Elementor Pro forms. So highly recommended you do that as well. So we're just waiting for MyListing to do its thing here. I'll go ahead and press pause and we'll just let these plugins install. Okay, once we install the three plugins that are quote unquote bundled with my listing, what we can do is go ahead and come in here. We're not working with the block theme, so we can go ahead and we're going to delete that. We're not dealing with Gutenberg specifically when we're dealing with my listing, especially not the Gutenberg plugin. So we're going to go ahead and deactivate that. So we're going to go ahead and delete create block theme plugin and the Gutenberg plugin. And we're going to leave everything else because these three plugin, PCP, plugin check plugin, and query monitor and theme check probably will come in useful for us later. So we're going to leave those. The plugin check plugin would come into play if we are creating a plugin specifically for our MyListing website here. Query Monitor is used by developers to test the performance of their plugin. And then theme check, if we end up doing anything with the MyListing theme, maybe we want to run it through a theme checker. And these checks are like plugin check, plugin, and theme check. These are the plugins that the WordPress repository, so WordPress.org, uses to validate software before they add it to their directory. So very powerful stuff. All right, so that is our base. We've got the core plugins needed for my listing. We've got my listing installed, and we're ready to rock. So that's our WordPress environment. Again, in our separate browser where we are not logged in, we'll just go ahead and minimize that. Back over here in our site, this is our new MyListing site with our local hosting within WordPress Studio. We see a button, cursor. Okay, and again, go back to my previous video. We have cursor installed and ready to go. So what I'm going to do is open this project and cursor simply by clicking this button. And it should pull up cursor. Let's see here. There we go. There we go. So there is our project in cursor, and we see all of our files here. So this is all of our WordPress files over here on the left. You can browse them as you would like with a file manager plugin. But if we go into themes, here we go. We see the MyListing theme and all of the files. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead down here. We see a notice, try Composer 2. I'm going to go ahead and click that. So that was just an update to Cursor. Cursor is our code editor. Again, I keep mentioning it. Go back to that previous video, get set up, get the lay of the land, understand why we're using the tools that we are using. But we now have file access to our MyListing website, and we are ready to code. So up here in the top right, you see new chat. Now, what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to tell you a few things. One, again, I am not a developer. So what we are doing here, we are learning. We are seeing how it is, quote unquote, easy to code with vibe code, they call it, with AI. But it's just the beginning. Like, you can come in here and you can say, create me a plugin that does X, Y, Z. But that's only going to get you so far. You have to have the desire and the curiosity to learn this stuff, to learn how to prompt, to learn the best practices for doing things. You can't expect to come in here and say, create a plugin to do X, Y, Z, and be done. There's so many nuances to doing this. You have to know how to prompt. You have to know the things to prompt, what to put in there. But you will learn through trial and error. So when I first came in, I built a plugin with a simple prompt, and it got me 80% of the way there with my plugin. But I quickly found out that if you want to do this and you want to do that and you want to do that, you're prompting and you're prompting and you're prompting. It's so anybody that tells you can just go in there and to put one prompt in there and you're going to have a working solution, it's not true. It's not so far from the truth. So you have to have the curiosity to know how to do this stuff the right way. Okay. And you got to be willing to spend a little bit of money. Developers, if you go hire a developer, there's a reason why they charge as much as they do. This is not easy work, but you've got to be prepared with Cursor, for example, to spend some money. We are on the free plan here, I am when I'm doing this for real, I am under a pro plan currently, so it's $20 a month. But we will see what we can do here with the free version. You can do some cool things. Don't get me wrong with the free version. Okay, you run into limits. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize cursor here, and let's go ahead and get into our site. Um, so I'm trying to think of something. I've given this a brief bit of thought, but not a lot. Like just something fun that we could try. So what I thought was, let's go over to WooCommerce. Let's get into there. I think we got to run through a setup here. Let me pause the video and I'll be right back. I think I have to run through the quick setup wizard for WooCommerce. So let me go ahead and do that and I'll be right back. Okay, we have WooCommerce ready to go. And back to what I was previously started to say was, I briefly gave it some thought, some things that we could try. And one thing I thought we could try was to recreate a plugin that somebody else had created for WooCommerce to satisfy a need that I had myself. So I thought, well, what if we try to recreate that same plugin? So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you go to WooCommerce, um, we need to create an order. We need to actually go through this stuff first. Let me pause again. Let me get through the basic setup of WooCommerce. WooCommerce is a pain in the butt sometimes. Okay, so we have WooCommerce ready to go. And so what we're going to try to do is not necessarily specific. It's not specific to my listing, but this is just a thing in WooCommerce that I wanted to do on my personal site. So because we use WooCommerce with my listing, I thought, well, this could be something we start with, trying to recreate a plugin to add an email address to the orders table. That's what I've currently got on my screen. So this is the orders table for WooCommerce. And you see there's no email address in here. So you don't know who this order was placed from unless you hover over um, the name here, click on it, and then once you go into the account, it's a bit slow here. Then you see the email address here. Okay, so if we go back, again, we don't see, we have to click in to see the email. There's no under screen options. There's no option to toggle on an email address. And hovering over the username right here is not helping either. That would be also cool. But the idea here is to create a column in the orders table to display the email address. Okay. And also make that, be sortable. So maybe you want to sort all orders by a specific email address. You want to alphabetically sort them by those email addresses. And it's the billing email. Okay. So when someone goes into their account, so their WooCommerce account, they're going to have a billing email. That's what we're looking to attach there. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go over to Cursor. Again, this is our code editor. Again, it sees our files over here on the left of our website. And now let's just, this is where the fun is. This is where you start getting addicted to this. And one more, I'll mention the caveat one more time. We're just doing this for video purposes, but you want to be more thoughtful over time and how you prompt things and that sort of thing. So, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to come in here and we're going to say, create a plugin that adds, and this also, you're going to see where you have to know how to prompt. You can't just say, create a plugin that adds an email address column to WooCommerce. You have to know where to add it. Notice I said orders table. So create a plugin that adds a sortable column to the WooCommerce. See, I almost said WordPress to the Got to say the right thing, to the WooCommerce. Create a plugin that adds a sortable column to the WooCommerce orders table for the customer's billing email address. All right, so let's go with that. Hit enter. Now with cursor, it's going to default to, if I click agent over here, you see where it says agent at the bottom right of my screen. You can do agent, plan, debug, and ask. We're not going to worry about that for now. We're just going to stay in agent. And then under, actually, that's all we have to worry about. Let's go switch to free plans can only use auto. Switch to auto or upgrade plans to continue. So the free plan, as it says, you can use auto, which is pretty much all you need, especially if you're a beginner. But if you need the ability to specifically choose a large language model, an LLM for the AI, then that's where you got to jump right to pro. So we're going to go ahead and just switch over to auto and let that run. Okay, so we have our first thing here. I'll scaffold a small WooCommerce admin plugin in this workspace that adds a billing email column to the orders list and makes it sortable. Then I'll sanity check for basic syntax issues. I also want to remind you, in that previous video, I talked about rules, WordPress rules, and coding the correct way. So you want to go back and watch that previous video. But we're going to go ahead and say run. And because we're not developers, we don't know what this stuff is. We have to rely on the rules that we added in the previous video and trust that those rules are working. We're going to go run again. So it found our WordPress install. It's now checking WooCommerce for admin hooks to ensure sortable column works with current orders screens, including HPOS. High performance order storage, that's HPOS. I wrote about that, did a video about that a long time ago, but it's just amazing how this AI, it knows, with those rules we put in place, it knows the things to look for, to do things with performance in mind, to do things with security in mind, accessibility, and all that stuff. So it's going through now, and it's just, it's figuring out, it's planning, it's reading our data, it's planning, it's figuring out what to do. Okay, so it needs another prompt or a confirmation, I should say. So I just click run. And when a plugin is created, it has to create this whole structure. What's the name of the plugin? What's the structure, the folder structure? It builds that zip file for plugin. So when you go to a WordPress site and you install a plugin, it's a zip file and that is pulling in. So this is in that zip file. If you were to extract all the contents, you've got all of this different files and folders in there that create the plugin. All right, so we have another prompt, or I should say confirmation. There's a difference. So I'm going to say, go ahead and run that confirmation. Okay, says it implemented a new plugin and it went ahead and installed it for us. What it does is a breakdown, adds a billing email column to the WooCommerce orders list, renders each order's billing email in that column, makes the column sortable, supports both legacy orders table and the HPOS custom orders table. So that's database information. And then we've got some technical notes. Legacy sorting uses billing underscore email, post meta, okay. HPOS, okay, we'll skip that. Next step on your side, activate WooCommerce orders billing email sort. So we need to activate our plugin. Open WooCommerce orders and click the billing email column header to sort. Wow. So according to this, it's done. It also said, I also checked IDE links for the new file cleanup. I couldn't run because PHP CLI isn't available. So another thing you can do is install PHP. We might do that at some point on our local workstation. It helps cursor out. Okay, so according to this, let's go over to our site. Let's go to plugins. And here we go. This is our plugin, WooCommerce order. We didn't give it a name. So the AI cursor automatically picked a name for us. So I could have said, please create a plugin called XYZ plugin, right? Let's go ahead and activate this. Okay, so our plugin is active. It looks just like a plugin, right? version 1.0 by MyListing, requires WooCommerce. Put the description in here as a sortable billing email column to the WooCommerce orders table. But now I have no idea what we're going to see if this is going to work. But let's go. WooCommerce orders. Boom. It did it that fast. Okay, let's do this. Let's go orders. Sorry, orders, add new. Let's do, I think I've got another user account in here. Yeah, test. Okay, so we're going to use this one. So we're going to go new order, completed. We're going to say our test user. This is our pretend customer in this case. Test. They purchased a product. Doesn't matter which one. There we go. There we go. Create. Okay, orders table. There we go. Both of those emails are in there. So now what if we want to sort these? Now, when I click on this heading right here in the column, we should see those flip-flop because obviously the letter A becomes before the letter T. There we go. It's a bit slow. I don't know why this local WordPress Studio is normally not this slow, but right now it's running a little slow. I don't know if there's an update that did that or what. But how cool is that? I mean, literally in like a one prompt and a couple of clicks, we did it. But again, you got to know how to prompt. You got to know that this is called the orders table. You got to think, well, if you want it sortable, that is, you got to think to make it sortable and all that. But I mean, it wasn't even that complex of prompts. But that fast, you have a plugin. Now, here's the thing: it works, and it works for your site. And I would, we did this in a test site in a local environment, and I think it's fine. I think it's fine to install on your site for all intents and purposes. You can go ahead and there's if you don't know, like you could FTP into your site or however install a file manager plugin, however it is that you want to try to get this plugin down here. I would say a tool that I recommend, and you can get this for free if you're my client. This is a premium plugin. Let me go ahead and grab this and I'll talk more about it. It's called DevKit. I've done a video on this in the past. Let me go ahead and create a copy here. All right, let's go ahead and get this uploaded. But like I said, if you're my client, you can get this plugin, premium plugin for free. If otherwise, go to influencewp.com and you can get this at a big discount. But what this plugin allows you to do, there's other plugins out there, but I really like this one. What this plugin allows you to do is download themes and plugins. All right, so we go back over. So we go over to the DevKit. And from here, we can say download plugin. So let's find that plugin that we just created, that one, boom, download. Now, once you do that, we see here over in my downloads folder, there's our plugin, and you can distribute that. Now, again, if you care about the code and stuff that you can add that to your sites. I would add that to your staging, test it. Then you could potentially put it on your live site, right? But I'm going to say this again, like if you care about the code that you're creating, maybe at first have an actual developer look over the code and see what you think. Prior to doing that, this is what I recommend you do. Go over to plugins, turn on PCP, plugin check plugin. Again, this is part of our blueprint environment. and we're going to click on check a plugin. You can also hover over a plugin, and there's that use that check this plugin link. So we'll go ahead and do that. So let's run through all of the checks that WordPress itself would check if you tried to submit this plugin to WordPress on the repository, for example. I like to turn all of these on, and let's click check it. So looks like I didn't actually click it. My bad. So this typically will come back with just it comes back with something. I don't think I've ever seen it come back 100% perfect ever. Even with plugins that are established by regular developers, it always finds something. But you're going to see something really cool that we can do with Cursor. So let's let this run. I'm going to pause. I'll be back just a second. We'll just let this continue. Okay, so the PCP plugin came back with some issues, and now we're going to see again the beauty of AI here. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to copy this message: missing license in plugin header. Just copy the whole thing here. Go back over to Cursor. I'm going to paste that in our chat window and hit enter. The AI is saying, I'll update the plugin header to include a GPL compatible license field, yada, yada, yada. And there it goes. It went ahead and it did it. Let's go ahead, come down here, and let's say message. The plugin README file does not exist. Copy and paste, hit enter. Tells you it's going to add that README text file. Okay, and that is done. And the last couple here, all we're doing is copying the entire message. That's it. Copy, paste, hit enter. So now it's saying, okay, I can't do that. So I will rename the plugin to use the allowed pattern for WooCommerce and update both the main plugin header and README text title so that the renaming check passes consistently. Okay, done. One more to go. Copy, paste, hit enter. Okay, we have a confirmation. I'm just going to go ahead and run that. Let's keep confirming. All right, let's go went over the changes. Okay, with that done, we're going to come right back up here in PCP. We're going to click check it and let it run through all of its checks again. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and let this run. We'll be right back. I'll be right back. Actually, let's do this. Let's get out of the screen. We'll come back in. Oh, I see. Okay, so what happened is if we go to plugins, it renamed our plugin. Okay, so we had to deactivate it. So let's activate that back. There we go. All right, so now let's run this check again. I don't know what WordPress Studio is doing right now, but it is doing some funky stuff. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video and we'll be right back and we'll see what it comes back with. Okay, so our checker came back with another issue. So you know what we're going to do? We are going to copy this message, drop it in cursor. Okay, that was that. And we can run the checks again. I will pause the video and be back. Okay, guys, PCP came back that time. We see checks complete, no errors found. Go over to our plugins. I'm not sure what that is. WordPress Studio is acting up today. It's not an issue with our actual plugin. It's just something to do with WordPress Studio. It's acting up. Could be that my install or something is a little wonky, but we'll get in here into the plugins. There we go. So we see our plugin is in there. It's absolutely fine. I'm not sure what's going on with WordPress Studio. We'll go ahead and deactivate this. We'll activate it again. And then when we will check our orders table again, WooCommerce and orders. There we go. There is that billing email. Let's go ahead and test the sort. There we go. So just that easy. We have a plugin, but again, we're obviously doing this in a local test environment. That's step one. Step two, you want to run it through all the checks and make sure it's good for security, all of those things, performance, security. Put it on a staging site. If you have, hopefully you have a staging site. Put it in a staging site. Try to get a fresh copy of your live site into staging. Put the plugin into your staging environment. Make sure it works. Make sure there's no issues, and then put it on your live site. Okay. If you want to take it a step further, have a developer look at the finished code and just to do a once over. If you happen to know a developer that knows what they're doing, or just run it on your site and because it passed all the checks. I'm just going to say a disclaimer here. Um, the disclaimer has to be made that when you do this stuff with AI, and you're not a coder and you don't know how to verify the code, use at your own risk. I don't want people coming back saying, Ryan, you told me I could create this plugin with AI and I could install it on my website, and then now my site, whatever. You have to test the stuff. You have to run it through the checks that we ran it through. Don't just code it in the AI, download it, and then install it on your production site. Don't do that. Like, run it through the proper channels. But again, if you want to go that extra mile, have a developer look at it and see. That's kind of going to give you a general gauge of how well the code is for other things you build going forward. But as you start building more complex things, you're probably going to want a developer to look over that stuff. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video and you see just how easy it is to create a plugin. Create code snippets, adjust code snippets, things of that nature. We didn't do anything specific to MyListing in this video, so I'll think a little bit more on that about something we could do. If there's something you would like to see me do in a video, um, don't come to me and say, Ryan, create this massive plugin that's going to take hours and hours. We're not doing that. But if there's something you want me to try to create that's simple, I'll try to do that in a video. Otherwise, I may do a video in the future under my pro account, because it would take a pro account to do something a little bit more complex. But maybe we do that in the future where we try to create something more complex. I created a plugin recently for SEO Press. I'm working on another one now that I can share later on. It's still a work in progress, but it has nothing to do with MyListing specifically. The other one does. The SEO Press one can definitely be used on MyListing websites. But yeah, just let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to try to do in another video, and I will do it. Just don't come at me with a create a booking plugin or create a reservation system. Nothing crazy like that, unless you're willing to pay for the credits. Okay. All right. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.